What's up, guys? So I wanted to make this video real quick. I just recently exchanged my lease, traded my lease of a GMC Canyon 2021. I had it for just over 3 years. I had like a 39-month lease. No, I guess it was just under 3 years, but I was about to be due to traded it anyway. And I was running into some issues with my key getting stuck in the ignition from time to time, and it was very frustrating. So I was like, okay, I gotta bring it to service, get it checked out. And at this time, if anyone's leased a vehicle, you're going to start getting a lot of calls, texts, mailers about trading it in early and changing, upgrading, lease end options that you have, right? So I'm not naive to that. I know, okay, hey, I'm going to go and try to see if I'm in a position where I don't need to necessarily get rid of this truck right now. I understood that I was well under mileage. I still had a couple months left on it anyway, so I wasn't in like a pressuring spot because the closer that you get to the end of the lease, you need to make a decision, right? So you need to be ahead of the curve and be able to know, hey, okay, I need to make a decision like now, like yesterday, so that I don't end up with a ton of fees, a ton of charges, extra monthly interest, all that stuff. And when you do that, you're giving away all of your leverage to the salesperson or the person in the dealership, right? You want to make sure you're ahead of the game. You want to make sure you kind of have an idea of what you want. Doing your research on it. You should, at this point, understand what a lease is. I personally lease for tax reasons, and I also it's just better. It's worked out better for me, to each their own, obviously. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about it overall, and especially what I've noticed is a lot of people that I've talked to who buy new cars, they end up putting $0 down. They spread out the term to 8 or 9 years, and they're not paying any principal down. They end up underwater. I've learned that lesson the hard way. Every time I finance a dang car, I've ended up underwater just because I've spread out the term to like 84 months, right? Just to keep that payment lower, because that makes you feel more comfortable in the beginning, where you're better off, honestly, just getting a little beater car or something that you can afford and pay it off, within 2 to 3 years, because that way you're a little bit protected. But new cars, obviously, they always have these different programs that are coming out, like 0 interest for 84 months or XYZ, low interest, right? But if you're not paying any principal down, the depreciation on the car itself could still hurt you, especially depending on the type of car. Like, I'll personally never buy just a regular sedan anymore, just because those have burned me in the past. But anyway, back to the story of getting my truck. I knew going into this dealership, I had a lot of leverage. I had an opportunity to kind of be like, hey, my lease is up in 5 or 6 months, whatever it was. And I knew that people were looking to try to get my truck. I knew it was a diesel, it was a Canyon, it was an AT4, it was pretty sweet, but I just needed something full size. I wasn't planning on keeping it anyway. And the way that the lease works, for those of you who don't know, is they figure out the MSRP, then you can negotiate the MSRP price on that, so to speak. And then each car is going to have a residual value kind of based on how it holds its value throughout X amount of miles, and they'll look and do market research, whatever it is. So going in, I kind of had an idea, like, okay, the truck that I want is a very similar MSRP. I can probably, since I'm a returning lease customer, I know they have rebates that are beneficial to that. I'm a veteran, so I get that rebate. There's usually, new cars are going to have a lot more rebates that you can kind of negotiate and ask for. My experience, some of the videos I've watched from other car dealers, sales reps, as they made videos, and you can find them too, is talking about how to negotiate a lease. First and foremost, what you do is you negotiate the MSRP, right? And then you negotiate that, and you say, oh, you know what, I want to look at this as a lease based on that MSRP. Because the lower the MSRP and the higher the residual value, the lower your monthly payment's going to be in that window, depending on how many miles you go to. So obviously, again, I'm not a car salesman. I don't even work in the car industry. I'm just talking about my experience as a buyer, and what I understood. And when I explained this to the sales rep, they obviously could tell that I had done my research. I knew exactly what I was looking for. What I was asking for wasn't very unreasonable. So as a sales rep myself, knowing, okay, hey, this person is telling me exactly what they want to do today in order to walk out with an inked deal and get the keys and drive off the lot, perfect. I just need to make it happen. I just need to find a way to get creative and make it work. And that's exactly what they did. It was very straightforward. It was very simple. I have had so many experiences where I've gone into a car dealership and I have literally wasted hours of my life going back and forth with this stupid paper that comes back, oh, my manager said if we can get it at this payment, if you sign here, I can get this deal done. It's like, that's not even a legal document. Like, I hate that stupid thing. So ultimately, I just went in there. I said, hey, listen, I don't need to trade in my truck right now. I don't need to trade in my car right now. This is what I want. This is the car I want. This is the payment I need to be at. And if we can make it work, I will literally walk out of here today with that car. You can have a sale. You can have a commission. Cool. So basically, I ended up going home, and that day she texted me and was like, hey, this is what we can do. And she sent me over all the options. I was like, great, that works. Let's do this. This is the mileage. This is the term. This is the payment. Perfect. Let's rock and roll there. There's no need to be difficult. I literally came in, laid out exactly what I wanted. She sent me back something relative to exactly what I wanted, and we got the deal done. So there's no need. I literally did it over text. She sent me over the documents via DocuSign. I walked in, grabbed my keys, went home. So it's a very simple process going in. So if you know these three things, if you know that you have leverage going into a car dealership, great. Use that, be ahead of the game. If you're trading in a lease, if you're trading in a car, have a good idea of what your Kelley Blue Book says, have a good idea of what your trade-in value says, so you can confidently negotiate that and you know exactly what you're talking about, because it's going to make the sales rep understand that they need to be on their toes, right? And it can also trip them up because they can get aggressive, they can get confrontational. But number two, you want to solve that problem with the sales rep. Be on their team. You're trying to get a new car, they're trying to get a sale. Understand that. It is what it is. It's how it goes, it's how business works. They only have so much control. So with that being said, you need to be reasonable. You need to know what you're asking is reasonable. So number three goes with that, and that's just doing your market research ahead of the game. Don't walk into a car dealership thinking that you're all of a sudden gonna know. You think you're gonna ask for a Lamborghini at $200 a month. Like, just, it's not realistic, right? So you need to go in there and just ask for something reasonable. Be realistic. Figure out what you want, what you're okay with, and that will also save you from being in a position of overpaying and stretching your budget, which happened to me. It's happened to me multiple times when I used to finance a car, where it was like, oh, you know what, we can do this, but it's $150 more than what I wanted. And you know why? It's because I didn't know, I didn't do the proper market research. I didn't watch the videos. I didn't watch any trainings. I didn't watch, I mean, there's no trainings on buying a car really, but I didn't do the market research. So what I was asking for was probably unrealistic. And my expectations going into that dealership was a lot different than what it could have been. And if I had prepped myself for that, maybe I would be looking for another car. Maybe I wouldn't be stretched out. But now I'm in a mindset where, like, oh, I can finally have this car. Okay, it's only $150 more. Is that really a big deal? And the next thing I know, I'm stuck in a payment. And I'm also, I mean, in those cases, I had spread out the term so dang far that I ended up underwater. So make sure you have a good understanding of how things work. Be open-minded with things too. Don't be stuck in your ways. Don't get fixated on one certain thing. Be open-minded on how you can come to a solution, figure out what works best. So hopefully this helps. Check out how to lease a vehicle. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, comment some sort of experience. The premise of this was really just to kind of talk about my experience buying a car, not in the car industry, but as a salesperson myself, trying to be well prepared to come in as a serious buyer. There's no need to play games. There's no need to, go back and forth and try to strong arm people. It's just figure out what you want, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're wasting your time, which is your most valuable asset. So check this out. Hopefully you like it, and watch for more.